better have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
How's it going, guys? I'm Andrew,
I'm Chris.
and welcome back to Ballers Basement. Happy to have you guys back. Really happy. So today we're getting started on our Path to Greatness series. And the way this is going to go down is we're going to start from the worst team in the NBA record-wise, and we're just going to talk about what we feel these teams need in order to put themselves in best position to be a championship contender. Either it's a small fix if it's a higher caliber team where it could be add a piece or two, or if it's a lower caliber team, we could just talk about what they need to do to put themselves in the best position. Now today, we're talking about record-wise the worst team in the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets are in a peculiar situation in comparison to other NBA teams due to their draft pick situation. Now, Chris, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, the draft pick situation, a few years ago, they traded with the Boston Celtics to acquire Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. And because of that, they put themselves in a little predicament now where the more they tank, they still won't get the picks. The Boston Celtics will actually get the lottery picks.
Yeah.
So they can't really rebuild with the draft until 2019. They still have another 2018 pick that the Boston Celtics have control of.
Exactly. So until 2019, in terms of rebuilding through the draft, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to do that unless they trade some of their existing assets to gain draft picks, which, I mean, the only two assets I see that they could actually get a draft pick or two back for, I mean, whether it's high or not, that's debatable, would be Brook Lopez, who is making $21 million in this 16-17 salary, and Jeremy Lin, who's making $11 million. I mean, those are the two pieces that I can actually see them getting something in return for. So, building through the draft is kind of it'd be pretty difficult until 2019.
I think it's a little risky for the Nets to try to build through the draft right now.
Yeah.
So I think right now what they need to do is pretty much focus on signing free agents and working the trade market.
Yeah, my thing right now, I think the best path for the Nets personally would be trade away the Brook Lopez contract.
Definitely.
Try to see if you could get him off your books. Try to see if you could, get
land a decent player for him.
Yeah, get a decent
somebody
player
that you can at least make into, somebody that's not in their prime or somebody that's about to hit their prime, and try to work with him and make him into a franchise player. Build something around him.
I mean, my thing is, I don't think you could get a franchise player if you do a player-for-player trade from Brook Lopez. But what I feel like you can do is trade him. Let's say you trade him to a team that needs a big, a team that Brook Lopez could offer something to them to potentially put them over the top or help them, contend more. If you could get 2 mid to late first-round picks for him, I would take that as a win. I mean, you might not be able to get a franchise player from that, but what you could do is you could have draft picks in the 2018 draft. You know what I mean? If you get 2 first-rounders or a first-rounder and a second-rounder. And you could, I mean, there's been good second-round picks. You look at Manu Ginobili, Draymond Green. I mean, Festus Ezeli. Was Festus Ezeli a second-rounder or was he a late first-rounder? I don't know, but...
Not 100% sure.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas was the last pick in the second round. I mean, you could find some talent if you have the right scouting. And I would say what you need to do is at least have players in the drafts that, where your draft picks are going to the Celtics, and see if you could get some nice young players that have potential, that are projects maybe, and see if you could develop them into either, a great, bench player or a great role player, because those are valuable
to me, a franchise player is not necessarily, LeBron James or, Kevin Durant. They are franchise players, but when I say a franchise player for the Nets, I mean a player that is a leader, that's going to command the best out of his teammates, and they can at least build around, go for a 04 Piston type of team where they don't really have a superstar, but they have the team chemistry that everybody elevates their game when it's crunch time.
I disagree with that. In my opinion, a franchise player is exactly what it means. A franchise player is a LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, a Stephen Curry, a Russell Westbrook.
Those are franchise players. Don't get me wrong.
I think what you're talking about here is just a player that has good quality, is a hard-nosed player, comes in every day, does what they're supposed to do, motivates their teammates, and that's exactly what I think they should do in terms of flipping.
I take that as my franchise player.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't like to use the word franchise player for that, because if you use that term, I mean, Iman Shumpert would be a franchise player, right? Because he's a good player, he does his role well, he motivates his team. I mean, but he's not. He's a very, very good role player.
Worth being a franchise player.
You said what?
I wouldn't say Iman Shumpert's worth being a franchise player.
I think we have two different definitions of what franchise player is, but I think we're both pretty much saying the same thing.
I think we do.
But yeah, I think that trade away Brooke, get him off your books. Trade away Jeremy Lin, get him off your books. I would sign free agents if you could develop them. If you could develop them, I would work on player development, young player development, trying to trade the assets you have and the contracts you have to get draft picks, and then when the 2019 draft comes around, by that time, the team should still be pretty in a developmental stage, to say it nicely. Where they're still trying to find their niche and find out what's going on. So they should have a high draft pick in 2019. And let's say they're able to draft a real franchise player, or a player that could have a huge impact and change the franchise player. It would be great to integrate them and already have players on the roster that are young, and so they line up age-wise, and that is good support. If you have like a Jordan Clarkson, I mean, he's not a star player, but the Lakers were able to develop him, to where he's a pretty good player, a pretty good role player, or six man. They should focus on working on that for their roster. I think that would be their best bet. So what I would do in this year coming up, 2018 draft, position yourself in terms of player development and have a lot of good role players on your team, so that when 2019 comes around, and if you have a high draft pick and you're able to get someone that can make an immediate impact, like a Joel Embiid, like you see the 76ers do, or Ben Simmons. We haven't seen him play yet, but he looks promising. At least you would have role players around them to give good support, so you guys could get the ball rolling quickly, rather sooner than later. So once let's say the 2019 draft comes around, or maybe it's the 2020 draft, and you find that player through the draft, you already have good supporting role players. And then, look, Brooklyn's in New York. It's a great market, a profitable market. Who wouldn't want to be in New York? Once you have a franchise guy, great role players, then you could start trying to get big name free agents to come in. Then you could really get the ball rolling. But I think right now the best bet for the Nets, great city. I lived there most of my life. Great, and Chris lives there currently. He lives in Brooklyn, so he could tell you. The franchise has a lot of promise. I feel like they need to do it the right way, and build their foundation to prepare themselves for the 1920 draft. If they have a high draft pick, find the right guy, and then I think the free agents will come.
I say that the free agents, they need to sign some role players now. Because there's not, looking at the free agents roster, is not really much people that I can see the Nets actually being able to get due to, they're already committed to another team. Like, the only real stars that's in the free agency right now for the end of the season would be Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. That's pretty much it.
Gordon Hayward
too, but
Kyle
Gordon
Lowry.
Hayward is, he's not necessarily, I wouldn't call him a superstar, but he's definitely,
an all-star.
The top tier of, the NBA.
Yeah.
I would say, they sign a player like, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, or, a Deion Waiters or Trey Burks, somebody that, they can build with, and they can be help to the franchise player that they should get in the future.
But I think it's key to get young players. I mean, right now,
those are the youngest players in the draft. I mean, in the free agency. I mean, Otto Porter's a young player. Ben McLemore's a young player. But those are like the more established young players that you know that they can help. You know, they can help found a mold for the Brooklyn Nets of the way they should be, you know, competing in the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. But I also feel like, I mean, yeah, could they go out and try to sign a Gordon Hayward type? I mean, I don't think Gordon Hayward would want to go there right now because I think he's looking.
I don't think he would want to go there either. He's leaving. If he leaves Utah, I don't think he would want to go into a situation where he would have, you know, he wouldn't have the championship caliber team around him that I think he really wants right about now.
So I'm saying I don't think those players would leave their current situations or go to a situation that's not ready to win right now. But I mean, let's say they could get those players. I mean, I think it'd be going back. Look, point blank period, I don't think they're in a position to win right now. I wouldn't rush the process. I wouldn't try to throw a team together to try to do it. I mean, look at the East. It's,
I think they have to do it slow and steady.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather them
a little bit at a time.
I would rather them develop players, develop good role players, and find that franchise guy so they could sustain success for a long period of time. You know, they have a franchise guy, they have great role players around them, they're all young, you can add pieces to them, you can sign free agents, and then they could potentially one day, in the next, 5 to 6 years, who knows, be a powerhouse in the East if they do it the right way. I just don't think that the Nets should rush to try to compete and try to be a contender. You know, I think they should. That was their
mistake last time.
Yeah,
they tried to rush to be a contender with, Deron Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Brook Lopez, and it didn't work out for them, and that's how they ended up in this predicament now. So I think I'm pretty sure they've learned their lesson in terms of not rushing to be a contender. I think they're going to try to build slow and steady, and I think that's definitely the way to go for them.
Yeah, most definitely. I think building through the draft when they have their picks back, great. Trade their current assets that are holding up a lot of the salary to get draft picks in the drafts that their picks go to the Celtics. Great idea. And just, find young talent and develop them so when the time's right, when you find that franchise guy, you guys can take off and sign free agents to add to it. So,
yeah, and I think that, because Brooklyn is a nice place to be as an NBA team, I think that once they get that salary cap situation settled, I think they can definitely sign some of these young talents because I think most of them pretty much are money hungry right now. They want to get as much money as possible and still be getting the work they need to build into their to use into their prime.
Yeah, I mean, they want to build their brand. That's what most basketball players are about these days. They want to build their brand. They want to sustain success even when they're off the floor, have a name for themselves. So what better place to do it in New York? And if they could win at the same time while they're building their brand, it's a double win.
It's even better.
So I think Brooklyn has a great market to be successful. It's a place that I think a lot of players would want to be. I think they just need to be patient and work with what they have. And I think, without a doubt, if they do it the right way, they could be a contender in a few years. So
I believe so too.
For our Path to Greatness, episode 1, that's how we feel the Brooklyn Nets could find a path to greatness and potentially be a contender in a few years. That's the way. I mean, we kind of agreed on this for the most part. And yeah, I think that's the way that we feel they could do that most efficiently and effectively. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right, so unless I'm missing something, I think that wraps up episode 1 of the Path to Greatness. We should have episode 2 coming out tomorrow.
A few days.
And if
tomorrow,
you're watching this, tomorrow or a few days. And if you're watching this by the time the Path to Greatness episode 2 comes out, it should be popping up on your screen right about now. So you can just click that and watch that. We're going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Please be sure to like the video, comment. We'd love to hear your feedback. And subscribe. Yeah, I think that's about it. So
you can write Team Blaze. I like that.
Listen, let me explain something to you guys. Don't write Team Blaze. If you agree with me, write Team AP for the win.
I don't think anybody's gonna do that. Absolutely not. Team Blaze is definitely the way to go.
We'll see. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.